We're in.
All right.
We're back in the game.
Finally, we're back in the game. It's been a while, man. It's been like 2 or 3 months, I want to say, like since we did the last podcast.
It has been a while. It's been
Little
too long.
little hiatus, but we're back. And this book we're going to be reviewing today is kind of interesting. Um, I have mixed feelings about it, and we're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so the book is called The Presence Process. Scott, I'll tell you about it so you understand where I'm going with it.
Yep.
So the book is it's called The Presence Process, and I had seen it recommended by some YouTuber that I was watching, and I was like, okay, like let's give this one a read without realizing though it's like a very full on immersive, like hands on experience.
Okay.
So basically, the book is supposed to be read in 10 weeks. It's supposed to take you 10 weeks to read the book.
Okay.
So you're supposed to do 1 week at a time. Obviously, I read it faster than that. I just kind of zoomed by it, but it's
Yep.
supposed to be, let's say you read week one, and then you do like two 15-minute meditations every day for that week
Yep.
about a certain topic. Then you read week two, then you do again two 15-minute meditations every single day, like maybe one morning, one night, or
Yep.
whatever, every day, and it's going to be about a certain topic where you're visualizing about a certain. We're going to go through the topics now in a second. We'll briefly go through it. This is going to be a shorter kind of podcast here because it's not really points in the book. It's more about I want to call it like visualization meditating.
Okay.
It's about meditating, just like laying down or sitting down and thinking about each one of these points
Mm-hmm.
and really feeling it and immersing into it. And at the end of the 10 weeks, you're supposed to feel like a whole new person, right? Just a whole new reborn human. I didn't go through this.
Okay.
I just read the book, but I'm
It's quite a
thinking
bold
about going
claim.
through it.
That's a
Huh?
bold claim. A new person in 10 weeks.
No, I mean, not like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you're supposed to be more, let's call it present to the moment. It's called the presence process. You're
Yes.
supposed to be more, um, basically, from what I understood, it's to release some trauma. It's to, get more acquainted with just everyday life and just feel better, just in general.
Okay.
This is what it's about. And and yeah, like I didn't go through it. I am still considering going through it at some point, but I've done a lot of other kind of meditating things that are very similar to this.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm thinking about if somebody's watching this and is like and wants to actually do it, I may actually do it with them. I may. It's a kind of a big time commitment because it's 30 minutes every single day, so it's twice for 15 minutes. 30 minutes. You're doing these meditations. You're visualizing every single day for 10 weeks, so it's quite a bit. But
Yeah.
let's get into the just like we're just going to briefly talk about the 10 meditations, and we won't take too long on it. Um, just for anybody that wants, I'd be so curious. By the way, if anyone's watching this and wants to do this 10-week process, we would love to interview you and find out your experience at the end of it. Like I would love to do that. There was one guy that was actually interested in doing it. He messaged me on Skype. I won't say who it is. He messaged me on Skype and told me that he wanted to do it, but then eventually, he decided not to because he said it made him feel so relaxed that he couldn't grind because it was such a relaxed experience. And so he decided ultimately not to.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to do it and be a guinea pig and go through this 10-week process, 30 minutes, me and Scott will get on. We'll do a podcast with you, just kind of like talking about your experience. It'd be kind of interesting um, to kind of gauge with that. And then I'm 50-50 with it. I'm still not sure if I'm going to do that at some point or not. But as of right now, I don't want to. It's too much of a time commitment right now for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I may in the future. But anyways, let's get to the first meditation thing
Yeah.
there,
So
Scott.
before we proceed, Jack, there's a huge there's a huge part of this review missing straight off the bat. I mean, there's no Jack Stack score out of 10 here.
Yes. See, I didn't score this one because it's just like if when I was reading it, I was basically I'll be honest, it's not like a very fun read. There was a lot of points in the book where my mind was just wandering. You know how you read a book and it doesn't really capture your
Yeah,
attention?
yeah,
There's certain books where you read it and you're like every single word, you're like, oh, okay, like this has got me. It's got
yeah.
me pulled in, like it's got me captivated. Um,
So
this book,
you could put this one down.
I could put this one down. Yeah, absolutely. I could put this one down.
Yeah,
I didn't feel the need to continue reading. Oh, I have to see what happens next. You know, there's a lot of
yeah,
books I've read that I'm like, I really, really want to see what happens next. I really, really want to read the rest of the book. I'm intrigued.
yeah.
I'm captured. This one, maybe it was the vocal tone of the author.
Okay.
Had like a very boring, monotonous kind of tone. Like it was
Okay.
just like, and then you do this, and then you have to meditate. Like, it's like very just like hard. It was hard to listen to a little bit, and
Okay.
also just being that the entire book is about this 10-week process. I couldn't really give it a score. I
Okay.
felt like unless I did the process, so we left it scoreless. So we'll leave it at that. But
Scoreless in
let's
Seattle.
get straight
Okay.
into it and let's see what we can find.
All right, fine. So these are the 10 meditations. Number one, this moment matters. I mean, do you want to? I suppose these ones are quite vague, so maybe it's you that needs to draw on these, Jack. So
Yeah, yeah. There's not really much to it. I mean, here's my challenge with the book too. Like, I mean, so this moment matters. Like, and then like each one of these points, he goes on about like 1 hour
Mm-hmm.
about this. He goes on about 1 hour about this one matters. I don't know, but he does it. So it's explained very deeply in the book. But this moment matters is more like, you know, you're going into a meditation and it's about the awareness and the um, the concentration on this moment, like what's happening right now. Let's say like you're meditating, you're feeling the energy in your arms, you're feeling the energy in your body, and like it's funny how we can do that if we want to. Like Scott, right now,
Mm-hmm.
focus on your toes. Just really just focus on your toes. Do you feel the energy down there when you do that? Focus on your toes heavily.
Just give me 1 sec, because I'm not good at these types of things. Give me 1 sec.
Just think it. Just focus just
Okay.
on your toes.
I'm gonna
Just on your
focus on my
toes.
toes.
Yes. Tell me if you feel anything at all there.
Not really, no.
That's interesting. That's very interesting because I feel so much, which is kind of crazy to think about. I wonder if people are watching, if you just focus on your toes. Why don't you try? All right, put your hand out like this, Scott. Like just put one of your hands right in front of you, and just focus and put all of your energy into your hand. Do you feel anything at all when you do that? Like how about your fingertips all the way
I
at the
can feel
top?
I can feel the joints of my fingers moving when I do that. Like I can feel them like creaking.
Okay. What about just your fingertips? Just your fingertips. Just put all of your focus and your energy right on your fingertips, only your fingertips, so that you can feel it. Just feel it. Don't even like narrate it or think about it. Just feel it.
I
You
don't
think?
know, man. I don't know if I can.
That's interesting. That's interesting because I have the complete opposite experience.
Yeah,
I
I'm
wonder if that has something to do with,
presence is not my skill.
yeah, I wonder if that has something to do with like meditating or like I'm super curious now if anybody else can do that because as soon as I feel that wave of energy in my body and if I focus specifically on my toes, like
Then
I literally can feel an energy down there. It's weird. But anyways, this moment matters is basically bringing your attention to just everything that's going on right now without
yeah.
going inside your mind and thinking about anything. So let's get to number two. We're going to quickly fly through them. Not we're going to spend just a couple minutes on each.
Yeah. I recognize my reflections and projections. I have a rough idea of like a relative ballpark of what this means, but
I recognize my reflections and projections.
Is it like
So this, go ahead.
understanding your own thoughts,
Yeah,
but more
projections is
specific?
also like, I guess maybe even like you can go as far as saying like understanding your own judgments of things and people and um, your perception of everything, and just kind of seeing it
Yeah,
separate from who you are. Like I know that's a very deep thing to kind of think about. Just seeing that as something separate from who you are, your
yeah,
projections and your perceptions, and everything else being like its own kind of thing. Um, so this meditation is trying to teach that you are separate from your thoughts. You're separate from what you think about a certain something. It's just you are just in your body, and that's that kind of thing. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a little bit esoteric, maybe. Like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but he explains how to do it exactly in your meditation, in the
okay,
book, um, and that's all it is. It's like kind of like seeing like a chat bubble. Like your thought is like in a chat bubble, right? Like you
sure,
see cartoons and like they're thinking something, and you see like that shit that they're thinking about. Um, it's like it's just that noticing and awareness of you being separate from whatever your mind is thinking at that moment.
yeah,
You're observing your thoughts. That's the key point. You're not your thoughts, but you're observing and watching your thoughts. So this
yeah,
is that type of meditation. It's like next level kind of thing where you're just like you're the observer and you're like, and then you're seeing and you're thinking about, not thinking about, but you're just like watching what's going on in your thoughts, which is kind of intriguing. Anyways, let's get to the next one here.
okay. This one is probably the least appropriate point for me ever. I choose to respond in brackets on Skype. Uh, not now, baby. I choose to respond. Um, is this I'm choosing to respond to my thoughts?
um, this is more so like you're choosing to like you're kind of, let's say you say something to me, and
Yeah.
then like I'm basically responding
Hmm.
in the way that I want to respond in, um, as opposed to the way you want me to respond, if that makes any sense. Like I choose to respond. So whatever you do or say, I can respond in a way that is genuine and authentic to me as compared to something that I like maybe you want me to respond in a certain type of way. Does that make
Okay,
any
so
sense?
in other words, like I am in control of my response.
Yes. Yes. That's like the gist of it. Like I am in
Okay.
control. I choose to respond, as in like nothing can shake me off my center. I choose how I react to a certain something, and someone is not going to influence how I'm going to respond,
Okay.
kind of thing. I'm in my own reality. That's kind of the core of this, and like so you meditate the 30 minutes for a week on this, and like just imagine like this is probably interesting. Like what I'm so curious if somebody ever does it. Anyways, let's get to number
All right.
4.
Number 4, I feel unconditionally that either I'm guessing this should either be I feel unconditional or there should be a word after unconditionally, right?
No.
Unless sorry, the verb feel as a verb in this case. So I feel unconditionally.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, Jack, my
Yeah.
mistake. You can see that sentence can be interpreted in about 117 ways. Okay, I feel.
Everything here can be interpreted 117 ways. That's the
Yeah,
craziest
true.
part.
Okay, I feel unconditionally. Okay, man,
It's a mind fuck.
this is some hippie shit right here. This really the last one was number 4. I feel unconditionally. The
Yes.
complete sentence. that I didn't recognize to begin with. I feel unconditionally.
Any shot of what that means?
Yeah, I think I have a rough idea what it means now. Like, I think I'm a really good person to do this podcast with, not because I'm really educated on this stuff, but for actually the polar opposite reason. Like, I'm so poor at this kind of stuff here, as we've spoken about on videos before. Like, my spirituality is still rock bottom. Like, I'm the anti Alan Watts.
Well, the next book we're going to review today is actually straight like practicalness.
Yeah,
So
that's that more sits with my belief system, but that doesn't mean that I'm not open to these things. Like, I did vow to make changes. I've not been as proactive as I would have liked to have been, but I remember the one that the podcast that you and I did with Oscars about Alan Watts. I know that I made a commitment to change, and I stand by that. But maybe I'm just being a little bit slow. I think we spoke about I feel unconditionally, didn't we?
no, I mean we tried to speak about it, but then we
In the
got cut off
recording
there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can speak on it if you want to.
Yeah, just fill me in a
So
little bit for the
I mean,
uneducated like me.
this is one that I actually forgot what he meant by in the book too, and then like when Scott was figuring out the gigs, I had to
Yeah.
Google some things. But what he meant by this is that you never want to resist your feelings. So in this meditation, when you're doing this meditation, whatever you feel,
Mm-hmm.
let it sit with you. Like you feel it in your body and you don't try to resist it or try to feel something different or whatever. You just feel it unconditionally, no matter what. Just sit there and feel that and meditate on that. Just like think about the feeling basically is what this comes down to. And like a lot of this is like if people watching this are not very spiritual, this might seem like a bunch of it's going to seem a little bit weird. But anybody that's spiritual, I'm sure if Oscar's watches this, he's going to be like every single point. He's like, yes, yes. He's Mr. Alan Watts himself. So
He is.
shout out to Mr. Oscars. He does mental game coaching. He's on a spiritual path as well. So so shout out to
Captain
him.
Latvia. He's also the captain of spirituality as well. So.
Yeah. So let's go to straight to number 5.
All right, number 5. I am innocent, Your Honor. I am innocent. Innocent of what charge, Jack?
Innocent of anything that you might think you're not innocent of is really what he means here. So let's say, for example, you feel bad about a certain thing you did in your childhood or like, a couple of years ago or, whatever it is. This is kind of like a meditation to wash that away and just be like, you know what? I'm a human. People make mistakes, and at the end of the day, I am innocent. You can forgive yourself, kind of. So this is a meditation to kind of sink into that vibration of I'm innocent. I'm not a bad person. I've never, harmed anybody, even though like maybe you've harmed somebody in your life unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like a wash away, like, an innocence kind of.
I like that. That might be a good one for people like me. I've got like an overactive conscience.
Yeah, it's like you think you're guilty of like all kinds of shit, and then like this is just what, just
And I also like I really, I'm as bad as could be at like forgiving myself, even if something's like you said long in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll give you a funny story, a funny example for me. My mum and dad told me when I was a teenager that like when I was a tiny toddler, like 2 years of age, I picked up this porcelain pig that my dad had. Incidentally, a pig. And he was like quite sentimental about it, and I picked it up, and apparently he said to me like, don't drop that. And apparently I just went like that, smashed it on the floor. Right?
But that's the whole point. You're innocent of that because like you didn't know you were a child. You were an innocent human making a mistake, right?
I still feel guilty about it. Every time I talk about it, I get like this gut punch feeling of guilt. I'm like, oh, what a dickhead. And I was a toddler. I have no recollection of this whatsoever, but I still feel terrible about it now. I'm very bad at letting go of things like that.
So spiritualness is one of the best things for letting go. This process could do you a lot of good. But let's get straight
Yeah,
to the next one.
perhaps it could. I integrate charged emotion. I think we've all integrated some charged emotion when we get a bad river card, to be honest. We're all very experienced in that. They were fist on the desk.
Yeah.
I integrate charged emotion. No, you're going to have to talk me through this one.
Okay. So this one basically is like what you just said. You still feel guilty about throwing that porcelain pig onto the floor and smashing it, even though your dad told you not to. And integrating charged emotion is basically charged emotion is like those emotional triggers from your past.
Right.
So it's really about a meditation about going into those moments, literally visualizing yourself back in that moment,
Yeah.
feeling that guilt, and just feeling it now, today, in a very full on, like head on kind of way. Like not in like a, I feel it and then now let me just think about something else and forget about it. It's about really reliving that moment.
Yeah.
But also like in the spiritual world, it's also about reliving that moment from a third party perspective. So it's like you're watching your dad and your 2-year-old self,
Yeah.
and you're taking the pig and you're dropping it and you're kind of just watching it and you're realizing it for what it is. You were just a kid. You don't really know what you were doing,
Yeah.
and then you relive that emotion and then you simply accept it. And then like from there, you kind of get that trigger out of your body from there because you relived that trauma. You went head on with it because a lot of the traumas in our past, what happens is we kind of try to shove them aside.
Yeah.
And we try to forget about them. We try to dig them deep into our subconscious mind, and we like put them in like a corner, and we're like, let's never think about this or talk about this or whatever.
Yeah.
This is saying that's wrong because it'll come out in so many ways in your life if you try to like ignore that kind of stuff. You really have to just literally go back and relive it to really pull it out of your system. Once and for all. And it's important to do that from a third party perspective. I did this. I actually, there was this YouTube video. It's about trauma releasing. And I did like 15 hours of trauma releasing doing this exact same method of anything I thought or I could remember was a trauma in my past. I meditated on it and I saw it from a third party perspective, like myself now, looking back at the situation objectively, in my feelings at that moment, but just looking back and seeing like what was happening here and like what was I trying to accomplish, like did they actually do me wrong or did I just feel they did me wrong? It was like all these like different things, and it's like a guided kind of thing. It's kind of interesting. This is a very similar concept. But let's get to the next one.
Okay. I feel safe now.
Safe is a good feeling, Like I assume at this point, like after all these meditations, you're like, I feel unconditionally, I'm innocent, blah, blah, blah. I feel safe now is like, I'm not worried about anything anymore.
Yeah.
I feel safe now. Like I don't have anything to worry about. I feel free. I can relax. And this is meditating into that feeling and just like, into that vibration. And that one is just really straightforward. It's just kind of letting it all sit and it's like, I feel safe now. Now I understand better about everything that happened. And then number 8 there is tied in, completely as well. I forgive myself. This is for any mistake you might have thought you made. Maybe it wasn't a mistake to other people, or maybe it was just like, like for me, like a 2-year-old dropping a porcelain pig is not really a mistake. It's just like what a 2-year-old does. If you tell a 2-year-old, not to drop a porcelain pig, he's probably going to want to drop it.
Yeah.
That's just the way 2-year-olds behave.
It is.
Whether it be the Scott 2-year-old or the Ryan 2-year-old, or, it doesn't matter who the 2-year-old is. This is just the way that 2-year-olds are.
Yeah.
So you forgive yourself for number 8.
I love, by the way, that you've typed the 8 with the parentheses, and it's recognized that as a shades emoji, which is...
what's funny? I'll tell you something that's really freaky. I swear to God, this is the truth. I typed in 8, and then that came up. I erased it. I typed in 8, and then that came up. I did it 4 times, and that same emoji kept coming. Even though I typed an 8 and I went down and I typed a 9, I'm like, whatever, I can't figure this out. It just didn't work. I was like, this one must have been like a sign from the heavens that this one is very important. I forgive myself. I don't know why. It
I,
just would not let me type in the 8. I swear, it would
I
not.
without pouring cold water on it or anything, I think that it's because that number 8 is like the sunglasses jack, the figure of 8.
I can type it in like a different kind of way. How did it not let me type in 8?
It's
That's
because
so.
of the parentheses. When you do that, it's like doing like a semicolon with a closed parentheses is going to give you a smiley face.
Oh, any 8 with a parentheses, a smiley face.
Yeah, well, an 8 with a closed parentheses is a smiley face in
Okay.
emoji
So I
slang.
can never type an 8 then, like with a with a
I mean, you
parentheses.
can, but you'd have to use like a semicolon afterwards instead of the closed parentheses.
Oh, okay. I was just like, what is going on, man?
It's like a,
I was like, we're just gonna leave this. Like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, that's number 8.
it's a message from the internet gods. Yeah, sorry to inject so much logic here, but yeah, I think I'm fairly certain. I mean, if you do it on Skype, for example, if you do the same thing on Skype, it's going to offer you the same emoji, I think.
Really?
Uh, yeah, all right. But yeah, pretty appropriate emoji. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm cool. I forgive myself. Man's just
Yeah.
chilling. We're all good. Um,
Yeah.
number 9, I love myself unconditionally. Yeah, I'm not one for the self love. Not in that way. Uh,
Not on condition with conditions.
yeah, well, yeah,
Do this, and that. The whole point is to love yourself unconditionally in the sense that like whatever you've done, you've already forgiven yourself. So you can't like get to this point unless you've done like the first 8, like unless those are all kind of set into place, and then you're like, okay, you know what? I do love myself unconditionally. I don't have to be a certain way or achieve a certain something or have a certain status or whatever it is in order to love myself. I can love myself no matter what.
yeah,
Um, it's about showering yourself with that love, and once you do shower yourself with all that unconditional love, um, then it's kind of nice because you don't really need love from anywhere else. Like you can accept love from everywhere else, but you don't need it.
yeah,
So it's a different kind of vibration. Like it's like a better feeling of like, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to describe that one, but um,
yeah.
I think wants to strive for loving themselves unconditionally, and it's a very difficult thing to do. Obviously,
I think so.
um, it's one of the most difficult. I can't say I'm quite there like all the way. I don't think anybody's there like unconditionally. I don't know. It's kind of like if I sit on my ass and scratch my ass like 15 hours a day on the couch and watch TV. Like, I'm not sure if I would love myself that way. Well, I'm not sure. Um, but this is just saying like it's not really going to that extreme. It's not saying like, oh, love yourself unconditionally and just do whatever you want, do drugs and like sit on the couch and scratch your ass and do absolutely nothing. Just
Yeah,
love yourself. It's not trying to say that. It's just saying like your foundation should be to love yourself unconditionally, and then obviously from there you want to do normal human things. You don't want to just like
yeah,
be wishy-washy kind of world. But anyways, let's get to this last one here.
yeah. I get that. Yeah. The last one is I appreciate what I am, which is obviously just an offshoot of 9, really. I'm guessing.
Yeah. This is just
Um,
like the sum of it all. I appreciate what I am is just the sum of everything. It's just like a celebration of, you know, your gratitude towards who you are as a human and with everything that you've been through in your life, A to Z, um, appreciating yourself, being grateful for who you are, and just loving yourself and loving life, basically, and um,
yeah.
that's
There's
essentially it.
there's like a little GTO style rule of 3 going on, which is first like is uh, practicing becoming present. That's like the introduction. So it's like let's get you meditating, let's get you present. Then once you're present, it's forgiving yourself and letting go, and then finally arcs up to loving yourself. So it's
That's it.
practice meditation. I'm not a dick. I'm a legend in
Yeah.
layman's terms.
Yes,
Okay.
that's essentially the presence process, and like that's why I was saying like if somebody goes through this whole process, 30 minutes every single day, 10 weeks,
Yeah.
1 week for each one, and you sit there for the 15 minutes twice a day, it really
Yeah.
becomes a part of you, and you change your so what's happening with this and what it explains in the book is you're changing your belief systems from the core. You're going to the roots of what's making you feel a certain type of way in your life today and pulling it out from the roots
Yeah.
and switching that out and believing that you know you're an incredible being and you love yourself in every which way, and like it's something that can't hurt the quality of your life. Let's put it that way. You
Yeah.
know,
Might
and I've
help
done a
delay the
lot of
grind.
other things that are similar to this, and that's the main reason that I'd say I'm probably not going to go through with it. I might
Yeah.
actually at some point in my life. I won't close the door on this. Um, but I've done very similar things, and I've spent tons of hours, going back into my past and getting into this trauma, and um, I feel I've made incredible progress with that. Um, but yeah, super curious if somebody's watching this and like this really resonates with
Yeah.
them.
Someone do it. Someone do it.
Someone do it so that we
Someone do
have
it.
a guinea pig and it's like, wow, it changed my life. And then we all just get on the train. We're like, all of us are doing this. You
Yeah.
know, I want somebody to, maybe one or two people do it. And then we bring them on the podcast after the 10 weeks. And they're just like, dude, this was my experience. It was life changing. It was the most amazing thing. And it's funny because the person that I follow that recommends this book did say that this is a life changing process, and it's got excellent reviews on every review website. So, um,
Okay.
but yeah, I
Do it.
mean, if somebody doesn't do it soon, I'll probably do it. I'll probably end up doing it at some point. We'll just
Okay.
do another podcast on that, and that will be interesting as well. But yeah, so this is spirituality at its finest, meditation, really getting to the core of any sort of trauma, any sort of negative emotions that you feel in your body from in the past, and like your subconscious mind, and like all these different things. Um, but yeah, that's essentially it. So we can wrap this one up here, unless
All
you got
right.
some final, Mr. Piggy.
All right. Let me grab the recording. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yes.
And
See you
actually,
guys.
a lot shorter than normal, so don't bother messaging about the cookie today. But thanks for watching
Yeah,
anyway.
no cookie, no
Yeah.
cookie. All right.